Oh boy, it's that time again. I can hear the bells chiming. It's Oscar time, people.
Maybe it's time to let the old ways die. Maybe it's time to let the old ways die.
And we have the first one now to kick off the race with A Star is Born.
You know, man, in the old days, I always knew, like, you were gonna do something.
Hold on, let me get out my imaginary checkbox of all the things that the Academy looks for. Remake of a classic Hollywood film? Check. Musical? Check. First time outing from a previous Oscar darling? Check. For a really subtle, subdued performance from a really big mainstream musical star? Check. I'm not sure if that last one technically qualifies as an Academy caliber, but I don't care.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Okay.
Tell me something, girl.
So yeah, A Star is Born, Bradley Cooper's directorial debut, because hey, Jonah Hill had his directorial debut this year. Bradley Cooper figured, why not? That's not actually the reason why. I know I'm being facetious. Shut up, internet. But yeah, if you've seen the last 3 of these movies, which why would you? The first one came out in like 1937. Like, why the hell would you literally go back and just rewatch all the originals? Like, you're gonna watch a 30s movie, a 50s movie, and a 70s movie just to be that one guy that says, oh yes, I saw the original. And according to this one, he didn't exactly follow up to this one. Who fucking cares? It's A Star is Born. But yeah, I mean, Bradley Cooper's fucking great. He's Bradley Cooper. When is he not great? I literally have never seen him give a bad performance. He plays a fucking raccoon, and he's great at that.
You write songs or anything?
I don't sing my own songs.
Why?
I just don't feel comfortable.
Why wouldn't you feel comfortable?
No, Bradley Cooper is the MVP, and Lady Gaga kicks ass in this too. She's really great in this. She gives one of the most pulled back performances I've seen, quite possibly ever, from her. Like, she convinces me that she's a real human being.
Just every single person has told me they liked the way I sounded, but that they didn't like the way I look.
I think you're beautiful.
And I know that I'm supposed to feel like a piece of shit because of the whole documentary that she released on Netflix either earlier this year or last year, where she's basically, it's kind of like, you know, come behind the curtain and see what a real person this big famous celebrity that makes a shit ton of money is. But no, she did really good, and the movie is really good. It's really well made. The cinematography is out of this world good. But as for the story, sorry Dustin, you know I had to. Yeah, it waved and lagged a little bit, but big fucking whoop. What movie in 2018 hasn't had a story with problems in it?
Hey,
What?
I just want to take another look at you.
In all the good times I find myself longing for change.
Yeah, it's definitely trying to be one of those unconventional rise to fame movies, but the problem is it's based off a movie that was literally rooted in convention, so by trying to break some of those conventions, it just ends up like leaving what feels like crucial scenes in the movie out, to the point where the entire second act literally just feels like a montage of Bradley Cooper becoming progressively more and more drunk while Lady Gaga becomes more and more famous. And it doesn't help that her agent is basically there to just say, oh yeah, these are the way things are happening, and I am just supposed to be there to be the conventional figure that is supposed to tie everything down to reality, even though I'm really boring and not really a character and just there to deliver exposition, which, as I'll get to in a movie later on, I hate characters that are just there to deliver exposition. But yeah, despite all the problems with that I have with this film, this is still an absolutely delightful time at the theater. Shout out to all the performances, particularly also the supporting performances from Sam Elliott, Andrew Dice Clay, and Dave Chappelle, who even in their tiny parts that they have managed to completely stand out and steal every single scene. I'm guaranteed that out of those 3, Sam Elliott's the one that gets the Oscar nomination, if anything. But yeah, this movie's gonna get all the marbles. Even if it's not particularly personally one of my favorites of the year, it is still definitely one of the best that 2018 has to offer.
We're far from the shallow now.
I'm Eddie Brock. I'm a reporter. I always seem to find myself questioning something the government may not be looking at.
Okay, so I'm starting to think that I should just put a ban, or that Hollywood should just put a ban. Why am I saying me? If it were up to me, I would have no more than 3 superhero movies a year. But no, seriously, I think that Hollywood should just put a ban on all superhero movies that are released after, I'll say, Teen Titans Go was July or August? I'll say August, just to be nice, because Guardians of the Galaxy I know came out in August.
Found something really bad.
But yeah, because now we have so many fucking superhero movies a year, we have to have them in October through December now, which bleeds over into Oscar time, as if that doesn't make things already confusing enough for Academy voters.
Who said that? Taken.
And the funniest thing is that for this movie, which I had zero expectations for going in, this movie was actually not too terrible. Yeah, that's right. Venom from Sony was not terrible. Was it great? Absolutely not. Of course it had all the typical problems in it. All the universe building problems, very terrible CG, really shot really dark so I can barely tell what's going on. Of course the final act is nothing but a big CG mess. But here's the weird thing. So the biggest thing that everybody was launching at this movie was that it felt like a movie right out of 2006. If this movie had come out in 2006, I tell you, it's better than all the superhero movies that came out that year. Better than Ghost Rider. And it sure is better than X-Men The Last Stand. Although I would say those two are neck and neck just about because I don't hate The Last Stand as much as everybody else did. But yeah, I think grounding this movie and not making this as, say, fantastical as a lot of the other more recent superhero movies that we've been getting actually did this movie a lot of favor.
A planet on the brink of collapse. Human beings are disposable.
And here's what I'll say is that as much as people are shitting on him, Tom Hardy legitimately did do a good job with this role.
Higher life form.
Yeah, you can say whatever, where yeah, he only did this role for his son, and yeah, he probably wasn't taking this as seriously as he did some other roles, but for what he put into it, I thoroughly enjoyed watching him.
What about me?
You'll find out.
I'm so sorry.
And I also liked watching the back and forth between him and the symbiote, because guess what? Say what you will about Ruben Fleischer or the studio or what they did with the source material, this is the most personality I've ever seen the symbiote have. And I'm talking from all the Spider-Man comics that I've read, because I've probably read more Spider-Man comics than any other comic superhero. All the TV shows, obviously Spider-Man 3, because that symbiote was literally just a batch of CG goo. But yeah, actually breaking down the dichotomy between Eddie and the symbiote and seeing how they play back and forth off one another, that was really interesting. And I feel like if the movie really tapped more so into that, they could have had a really awesome, unexpected hit on their hands.
We cannot just hurt people.
I mean, hell, they already have had an unexpected hit on their hands. The movie's already made like a decent amount of money. 2018 is so fucked that a Sony superhero spin-off that was guaranteed to fail is actually doing really well.
I see it. We can do whatever we want.
As if I didn't need further proof that I was already immersed in the Twilight Zone. But so overall, I can't say that Venom as an overall film really impressed me and was like the most surprising film of the year, but I have to say, compared to what I thought it was gonna be,
Rolling down the street like a turd in the wind.
I actually ended up enjoying myself. So yeah, Venom, I can't believe I'm saying this. Pretty good recommendation if you just want to go to the theater and see a nice, quiet superhero romp that's really not connected to anything that you could just, again, I hate using this term, but shut your brain off for roughly an hour and 40. That's another weird thing. This movie's an hour and 45. When was the last time a superhero movie under 2 hours was ever released? I want to say the answer was never, but I'm pretty sure I'm wrong.
See, get up. We have to get up now because I have something really awesome to show you.
Did you draw a dick on my face?
You think it's funny?
Man, I was trying to think of a song to do this to start off this next segment, and oh well, it's never going back.
We are going to Galveston for your birthday.
Oh my god! We deserve this. We work our asses off.
Yep, let's go to the fucking beach.
Nah, never going back. I remember this is another one of those A24 trailers that I saw come out over the summer for a movie that was coming out later this year, and I kind of figured this would be one of those that went direct to DVD, although I was kind of hoping it would get a theatrical debut just because of the passionate energy that came out of the film. I was kind of hoping this would be one of those late summer surprises like Brigsby Bear was for me.
Y'all gonna be up later?
No, because we actually have to work tomorrow.
But instead, it got a direct-to-DVD release, and it was leaked just a couple months ago, and I watched it, and I enjoyed it. It's another directorial debut from A24, so it's gonna have all the problems that any directorial debut from A24 would have, but it was a lot of fun. I love the two leads. They had a ton of chemistry.
Maybe you need to mow your lawn. The city's gonna come down on you. Wait, the city's gonna come on us?
The weirdest takeaway, though, for me from this film was the fact that Camilla Morone, who's the taller, blonder, better-looking one, is dating Leonardo DiCaprio, and she's my age. But yeah, the chemistry between her and Maya Mitchell was awesome. I love watching the two go throughout their misadventures. I am kind of a little bit miffed that the film had a very clear through line and byline that it was going to go for.
We're going to Galveston for your birthday.
And then it just completely deviated from it, where it starts off and they're just like, yeah, we're going to go to the beach and we're going to, you know, work as hard as we can and go and in order to try and get this money, and we're going to have a bunch of hilarious hijinks along the way. And then the movie kind of gets away with that and pulls more of a Florida Project approach, where it's just like, JK, there isn't any actual plot or story. It's just these two girls going along out of the hilarious hijinks they get into along the way.
Well, look at this.
Which is fine, but I wish the movie hadn't misdirected me within the first 10 minutes by saying that it was going to have an actual plot. Look, it's 2018. I don't mind having plotless movies, but at least tell me if a movie is going to have a plot or not. Plot or not, that actually makes for a pretty cool rhyme. I'm sensing a mixtape in the future. For the supporting players outside of these two leads, Kyle Mooney's in this. He steals every single scene that he's in.
Well.
He clearly knows what he's doing, where he's just gonna keep doing SNL and then he'll just keep doing these weird, bizarro projects. Like I said, Brigsby Bear was one of the biggest surprises of the year for me last year. He was delightful in that. He's awesome in this. He steals completely every scene. The idiot brother and his two idiot friends, that side plot could have been completely cut out of the movie. I can tell that was just kind of put in there to take up space. And the actors were all good. They all did a really good job making me believe that these three are three of the biggest wastes of semen that I've ever seen on the face of the planet. But yeah, if you just want to get chill back with your bong and watch a good, nice, fun romp about two girls trying to make it and then ultimately getting what they want with absolutely no consequence at all, then Never Going Back is the movie for you.
That shit was stupid.
No, you want to know what's stupid? Not being able to use a goddamn bathroom for 2 days because you're in fucking jail.
Hey, you didn't go yet?
No, I told you I couldn't.
I thought you went last night.
There's no privacy in that place. You know that.
Dude, that's not healthy.
Man, 2013 sure is a long time ago, A24.
First time at the El Royale?
You have the option to stay in either California or Nevada.
It's not good times. It's not even great times. It's not even medium times. That's not a thing. It's bad times at the El Royale.
I always wanted to stay in the honeymoon suite, even though I'm not currently on my honeymoon.
Drew Goddard is back, and this time he is done being deconstructive, and he's like, no, instead of following up on the genius, absolute masterclass horror deconstruction that I released 6 years ago, now I'm gonna do a Tarantino movie.
Singing.
This is not a place for a priest, Father. You shouldn't be here.
Now the good thing is, because Drew Goddard is talented and actually a competent director, he I can safely say can be the next director that I can add to my list of Tarantino knockoffs that actually makes a really competent Tarantino movie for the most part really well. Where even though, of course, like every other movie that came out this year, this script has problems, this film still provided a great atmosphere, an absolute fantastic set of characters, and a really awesome scenario that could have actually been really cool had it been fulfilled to its full potential. Basically, the way that this film goes is that it had a full energy bar of 100, right? And it absolutely satisfies that bar up to about 75% of the way there, probably by the time that this film is done. So let me explain. So basically, the way that it starts off is that it starts off with, I think it's six of the primary 7 characters arrive at the motel, the El Royale, which of course is set on the border between California and Nevada. And the film goes into and breaks down each one of their backstories, very Clue-esque, you know, where it does a flash cut to black and then it has the graphics show up and it has, like, you know, the different room for each character. And for the most part, the characters' backstories are all really interesting, with the sole exception being Dakota Johnson. But it's a really interesting and awesome bunch of characters, particularly standouts, of course, being Jeff Bridges and Cynthia Erivo, which are the two that a lot of people have been talking about. But I also want to give a shout out to John Hamm, because I definitely think that he gets the shaft in this movie, both in terms of screen time and in terms of his character development.
Even though I'm not currently on my honeymoon.
Because ever since he left Mad Men, John Hamm has just started this trend of just being in all these really goofy comedies, and he's been doing them very, very well. But of course, I feel like he's been doing his best to kind of escape the stigma of being Don Draper. But I would say this year is really the year that established, no, this guy is not Don Draper, because between Tag earlier this year and this movie, he really establishes himself as a new, really intrinsic and really, really good character actor, because his character that he establishes within the first 10 minutes of his screen time really supremely sells me. Here's the biggest problem with this movie, though. With all the different storylines that this movie has to juggle, and for the most part, the movie does a really good job of juggling them, the biggest storyline that it sets up, that being surrounding the El Royale itself, is never fulfilled to its true potential, but basically where John Hamm's character exits the movie, right? And so you have this little back and forth that's been going down between Jeff Bridges and Louis Pullman, who plays the concierge, who's revealed to be a heroin addict.
It's not a place for a priest, Father.
And this back and forth, it seems to be going towards something that's going to connect to John Hamm, who reveals earlier in the movie that he is connected to the El Royale. But instead, that plot just kind of segues and goes nowhere, and throughout the rest of the movie, particularly when Chris Hemsworth comes in,
Too quiet in here, it gives me the willies.
the movie kind of just hints at what the El Royale possibly could be without actually telling you what it is for sure. Like basically John Hamm, you can see in his investigating in the beginning, he finds a secret passage that shows very similar to the cabin in the woods. There's behind each glass wall within each hotel room, there's a secret passage that shows in which the concierge of the hotel can go in and look and see what each person in each room is up to. And Louis Pullman's job as the concierge is to set up this film camera and film what is going on in each room. And you're led to assume that it's some sort of government hotbox in order to try and catch governments off guard, because the film is trying to be this ode to the 60s kind of post-McCarthyism era, and is obviously trying to be an ode to Reaganism and all the secret stuff that was happening with all the presidents back then. There's even a little bit when Hemsworth comes in where all the people are searching for this one strip of film, and when Hemsworth finally has it and he shows it to everyone else, he's like, you know what's on this, right? And you got to assume that the film is referencing JFK and Marilyn Monroe. They mentioned that it could take down and tarnish the legacy of a particularly famous person within American history.
We have a problem.
You watch me?
I only watch who they tell me to watch.
But outside of that one loose end that's really, really left loose, the rest of the film is absolutely awesome to watch.
Who's they?
Management.
I think the chemistry between all the characters is, for the most part, really well done. Like I said, the sole exceptions being Dakota Johnson and then her sister Kaylee Spaney, who they try to do this whole backstory with to try and make you feel sympathetic, where they had an abusive father, which is what leads her to get involved with Chris Hemsworth Cole. But ultimately, she just is not dynamic and good enough of an actress to back up that sort of a rich background, and it ultimately ends up tarnishing her and making her just kind of a wasted space.
Did you think you could just take what's mine? I wouldn't come a hunting.
And then Chris Hemsworth comes in, and it's basically exactly like I said. He's basically playing Charles Manson. He steals every scene in the movie. I really love that Thor Ragnarok happened, because now Chris Hemsworth can just sit back and do whatever he wants now and be as awesome as he can in every movie, and he is. He's awesome in this movie. I just was missing that one little scene that would have made him this really endearing character, but again, he's not supposed to be that sort of endearing character. He's supposed to be the out-of-nowhere secret bad guy that comes in. I just wish that maybe he had played a little bit more of an important part into the El Royale situation, rather than being this completely tertiary factor that just comes in literally out of nowhere.
It's a game. It all starts with a simple choice.
But easily the most emotionally riveting part of this movie is Jeff Bridges, where there's this one scene where he's sitting down with Cynthia Erivo, and they have just this dialogue, this back and forth, where they're discussing it, and he's revealing that he has Alzheimer's, and it's one of the most tender, touching, completely selling scenes. I love it. It's almost like he's kind of apologizing for his 3-second waste of time in Kingsman: The Golden Circle the previous year.
Which side are you on? Right, wrong, God or no God?
But yeah, really fun time, really engaging film, very sharply written, extremely awesome. The 60s atmosphere, Drew Goddard completely nails, and I definitely cannot wait to see more from him, even if this film obviously is significantly weaker than his last film. But again, it's Cabin in the Woods. How the hell was he gonna top Cabin in the Woods?
I've done horrible things.
So's everybody. Shit happens. Get the whiskey.
To be true, can't take.
Are you sure?
God damn it. Damien Chazelle, you had to be the next one? I mean, I didn't even like La La Land that much, but...
Yeah. Be an Avenger.
So yeah, only in 2018 could a Damien Chazelle, Neil Armstrong biopic be boring. Yeah, that's right, I said it. First Man was fucking boring.
First man to walk on the moon. That'd be something.
I mean, don't get me wrong, the technical aspects of it, all the stuff in space was fucking amazing, and Gosling is definitely trying to act his ass off against a script that is trying so hard to be as boring and neutered as it possibly can be. It's almost like Damien Chazelle after La La Land, like a studio executive sat down with him and was like, all right, Damien, you did well with those last two films, you know, that Whiplash and that La La Land, you know, you really got the kids going, but if you really want to make it in this business. You know, and of course he's chomping the cigar because let's face it, what studio executive in Hollywood isn't chomping a cigar? You gotta direct a biopic. And it can't have any of your signature style. Everything that you have that makes you unique and interesting as a director, you have to get rid of. And that's how you're gonna get funding for this next movie. And somehow, maybe it was just all the negative backlash, maybe it was the fact that for an instant, he almost had a movie win Best Picture, only to have it torn away from him.
This is not a joke. Moonlight has won Best Picture. Moonlight.
And guess what? First Man is gonna get a lot of Oscars, and rightfully so. It's one of the most technically brilliant made films of the year. I definitely think he took a lot of inspiration for Stanley Kubrick when he filmed that moon landing scene. I'm just kidding, I don't actually believe that bullshit rumor.
So many technological developments. We're gonna have to start from scratch.
But yeah, this is the most contrived studio baity, Oscar baity movie that I've seen all year. And if it was anybody else, I wouldn't care, and this film probably would be really elevated. But when it's the same guy who gave us this, and this, I'm sorry, I'm gonna come away disappointed because leave it to 2018 to make me find a way to be disappointed in each and every single director that has shown potential and promise in the last couple of years. But hey, Claire Foy can be added to the list of people that are in so many freaking movies this year. They're guaranteed some awards nomination of some kind.
It's another trip, Neil. You're not just going to work.
Do you think you're coming back?
Which really sucks because, like I said, this is going to be another situation where she's nominated for the wrong movie, where she gets nominated for supporting actress for this movie when she absolutely should be nominated for her performance in Unsane.
He's here. Or maybe it's all in my head.
Which is still like one of the most powerhouse performances of the year. But yeah, First Man, it's fine, but here's the problem. When my grandma watches First Man and doesn't like it and finds it boring and hollow, that is when you know you have a problem on your hands. My grandma liked Darkest Hour, just to put that in perspective.
Which one should we go to? They're all spooky. I'm gonna pick that one over on across the street. Yeah. Oh, what the? Hey, sorry about that.
Halloween! Alright, so let me get this out of the way. I am very, very jaded against the horror genre. I've been coming to that conclusion a little bit over the last couple of months now, but after having finally completed the original John Carpenter's Halloween, I have to officially say, I'm not a fan of the genre. Because here's the problem. Halloween 1978 is one of the most brilliantly crafted films I have ever seen. And again, I can't really blame it because this is the film that started it all. But again, in starting it, it really doesn't have anything special or new to add to it. And I can't exactly hold it like on this pedestal because it's a genre that I'm not a fan of to begin with. It started all of the typical genre cliches and tropes that I'm not a fan of at all. Because here's my problem with horror movies. Horror and the slasher genre specifically has become such a mode for cheap, lazy storytelling with just these one-off characters and tropes that it just doesn't interest me at all. Where a horror movie usually has to go above and beyond and be a meta parody of the genre, like Scream or Cabin in the Woods, in order to get me to care, or just be completely different and bonkers and on the wall.
40 years ago.
Off the wall. So now let's bring it back to the movie that I'm actually talking about, which is Halloween 2018, directed by David Gordon Green. Which is a film that, yes, famously set the tone for, okay, we are going to be, unlike all the previous Halloween sequels, and there's been a lot of Halloween sequels, we are going to be a direct continuation from the first one. All those other sequels, not happening now. Completely not in the canon. They even have a line in this movie that directly references that.
Wasn't it her brother who murdered all those babysitters?
No. It was not her brother. That's something that people made up.
To have Michael Myers locked up again in jail, no explanation as to how he survived getting shot 7 times at the end of the first one, but again, all the different sequels that explain his invulnerability, those are out now, and he's back to being just a regular homicidal psychopath that doesn't speak.
Hello?
They have these British exposition machines that come in order to basically fill in the audience in the last 40 years. They go, they interview Laurie Strode, Michael escapes, blah, blah, blah. You've seen the first Halloween, you've seen every Halloween movie, you know how the formula goes.
The bus crashed.
Mom, what bus crashed?
Michael escaped.
Except this time, Laurie's been preparing for the last 40 years for Michael to escape, and she's ready for him, and they're gonna have a battle royale showdown. And of course, Michael will leave a couple bodies in his path, as he usually does, because he's Michael Myers. Come on, he's got a reputation to maintain.
What the hell did you do that for?
So I can kill him.
This movie has a chance to be something really interesting where, again, so this is going to be a big taboo subject for a lot of people, but one of the interesting things that the Rob Zombie 2007 Halloween movie did is that it broke down the origin and actually made you understand Michael Myers as a person, where instead of just having the quick 2-minute intro where you just have him stabbing his sister in the Carpenter original, you have actually an origin and you have Michael Myers be a character instead of being just this force that the main characters have to contend with. Not how that was handled by Rob Zombie is a completely different argument, but the idea is there, and it's an interesting one. Which brings it back to this one, where the problem is that by getting rid of all of the previous canon and essentially erasing any sort of characteristics that Michael had going toward him, you ultimately cut off anything interesting and new that this movie really can do. And outside of the stuff with Laurie, which is interesting to say the least, the movie just ends up being this really weird tonal blend between a slasher and a comedic farce that's trying to both parody and pay homage to the original, and it just doesn't quite work. Which really sucks, because I know that David Gordon Green and Danny McBride are trying their absolute hardest, and I know that they love the source material, and just the carte blanche they've been having in Hollywood over the last couple of years to basically do whatever they want is great, because those two are two of the most talented people working in Hollywood. David Gordon Green just directed the last season of Vice Principals, which is one of the best things that has been on TV over the last couple of years. But as a film itself, this movie just has so many contrivances about it that just don't make sense at all. Like Michael Myers' own code, like for example, following the rules of the slasher movies, are just basically thrown out the window, where now he's basically just bashing kids in and killing teens that have no rhyme or reason to be killed, whereas in previous slasher movies of old, the teens that would always be killed were the ones that were doing something risque, you know, obviously drinking, smoking pot, whatever, but they would also kind of just be, you know, really asshole teenagers. You know, they would be kind of killing off stereotypes that embody the worst things that teenagers would look at and be like, why are you giving all of us teenagers a bad name? Not all of us act like pretentious douchebags all the time. But in this one, it's almost like the movie is trying to counteract that and say like, oh no, Michael kills all sorts of teenagers, where you have so Laurie has a daughter who's played by Judy Greer, which automatically makes her terrible and unlikable.
Crashed.
Mom, what bus crashed?
And Judy Greer has a daughter, so that's Laurie Strode's granddaughter, who's actually pretty cool, but again, probably not as well acted as she could have been. I probably would have gone with a better actress, but the actress that they have, I don't remember her name, does a pretty good job with the material. She is a best friend who's basically playing the role of the babysitter who ends up becoming one of Michael's victims. The problem is there's no rhyme or reason for her to be at all. She's actually a really cool character. She does nothing wrong. She's just really cool. She just wants to have a fun night with her boyfriend and everything. You know, the kid that they're babysitting, who is fucking hilarious, by the way. He's the funniest kid in the movie. It's basically Danny McBride writing himself as this little black kid that's there to yell out all the horror tropes.
Are you telling your friends to come over here and you're going to smoke some weed? Talking about smoking weed. Don't lie to me. That's against the rules. I'm telling my mom. If I had some other kind of babysitter, she'd be reading me a story. I wouldn't be up clipping my nasty ass toenail.
Oh, fuck me.
I saw someone in the hallway standing outside my door.
Oh, what's up, buddy?
There was a fucked up face watching me from the dark.
Oh, ghosts and goblins, little buddy.
Shut up, Dave. I heard him breathing, and then I saw him. He's in here. Boogeyman's in this house.
Okay, all right. Come on, I got you. Let's check it out.
Send Dave first.
But yeah, she just wants to chill with her boyfriend, smoke some pot, then Michael just comes in out of nowhere and kills her, leaves the black kid, which makes no goddamn sense at all.
Dave! You go up there. You're gonna get killed, Dave.
Also, another quick caveat, so he killed a kid that found him where the bus crashed on the side of the road and he escaped, but then he passes by a screaming baby as he kills the baby's mom once he reaches the town, like for no reason at all. He's just like, oh, kids are cool, but babies? Oh no. Which again is the screenwriters trying to work with what they have by trying to make Michael as badass as they possibly can, but nope, not too badass, because babies and black people, especially in the 2018 Me Too climate, hell no.
I've been preparing for this for a long time. It is not safe to be on the street tonight.
Go home! Get out of here! Get inside!
And then to add insult to injury, these are we're narrowing it down to my two biggest problems with this movie, where number one, you have this doctor in there who they literally say is supposed to be the new Loomis. Like, they even have a line in there where Laurie's like, oh, you're the new Loomis. And again, the writers, of course, try to circumvent that by trying to have a new edge with him, where the twist around him is, and why he's so obsessed with Michael, is because he's actually sort of become fascinated by what Michael does and wants to become a killer himself. The problem is that while that is an interesting concept, the payoff to that scene is that twist literally only serves in order for him to bring Michael from where he is in Haddonfield to Laurie Strode's residence so that the two of them can have their showdown.
He is a killer, but he will be killed tonight.
And that's it. That's the only reason, because of course, as soon as they get to the house, Michael wakes up and kills the doctor and goes in order to face off against Laurie. It makes no goddamn sense.
Happy Halloween, Michael.
That and the fact that this movie just feels like it's just pulling random scenes from the original, whether it's recreating scenes from the original or just taking scenes from the original and throwing them in there for no reason, as if the audience forgot about the original for some reason. So yeah, this movie overall ended up coming off as a jumbled, incoherent mess. Even the ending didn't make sense, because with the ending, that's where McBride and Green were definitely like, okay, this is it. We are ending Michael Myers' story. We are proving this guy is vulnerable. He can be killed, and no matter what happened previously in this movie, Laurie is putting an end to this. That was when Blumhouse and Universal came in and we're like, no. This is Michael effing Myers we're talking about. We can't let you guys kill him. So of course, when you have them blow Michael up, similar to what happened at the end of Halloween 2, where Loomis sacrifices himself to blow up Michael, at the end, you have the quick shot of the burning room and up, Michael's gone. And also, I'm still holding a grudge against this movie for not explaining Michael's invulnerability. Okay, so you get rid of all the other movies where he's basically become Jason, where he's completely invulnerable, and then all of a sudden, now he's invulnerable again. And I'm like, no, that worked once. Fucking explain it this time. Oh, fuck yeah, this is it. Oh my god. Oh, if there was ever a movie to close off a review montage for, it would be this one. So, I said I was going to do a single review for it. Unfortunately, I do not have the time nor the resources, plus I just want to get this over with. But please, if we could get a drum roll for easily the GOAT's movie, the best movie of the year. You guys all know what it is. Who follow Mr. G Movie Reviews? It is... Okay, so time to come clean about a few things. I have never once disputed Jonah Hill's acting ability. Never once. He's always been absolutely tremendous and hilarious in absolutely everything that he's in. My problem is, and again, this is totally speculation. None of this could be true whatsoever. But my whole speculation is I felt that Jonah's performances were always a very subtle translation of himself, for lack of a better word. Where, let me explain that. He does this thing that a lot of comedy stars, specifically from the 2000s, did, where it's just all the roles that they take are just over-exaggerated versions of themselves, and that's why a lot of the comedic actors from the 2000s, say your Jason Batemans, your Paul Rudd, tend to play those same roles over and over again. And for the longest time, I thought that was the case with Jonah. Then the 2010s came along, and I started to pay attention to him in drama, specifically Moneyball, The Wolf of Wall Street, War Dogs, and I started to see a little bit of a semblance of like, oh no, this guy can actually like form characters. This guy can actually, you know, really fucking act. And he has. He's been tremendous in everything that he's been in. I'm not disputing the man's acting ability. God fucking damn it. How the fuck did I know this guy could direct like a pro?
Mature women now. Get the fuck out of the front of my store. Fuck you.
And of all the jokes I've made, of all the 13 gazillion directorial debuts that happens this year, of course, his is the one that goddamn knocks it out of the park. No, seriously, mid-90s though is an absolute revelation of a film, and it's a film that, quite frankly, 2018 really needs.
Yo, I'm out. Stay out of my fucking room, Stevie.
I don't care at all about any of the negative speculation, because literally all it is just pissy, whiny, and I'm sorry to say this, but this is gonna make me sound like an asshole, pissy, whiny Me Too babies complaining about all the misogyny in the movie, you know, complaining about, you know, it's bringing back, oh, all the 90s misogyny. Well, guess what? I'm sorry, but if misogyny was the key to getting good films made, fuck it, I'll take it. Because I'm sorry, but the movies that I've gotten in the Me Too era have all sucked. But yeah, the story, it follows Stevie, who's this fucking awesome badass kid living in 95 in the absolute worst possible way that a regular, you know, not exactly poor off, but not exactly well off kid living in 90s California is. He lives played by Sonny Suljic, who is the kid from The Killing of a Sacred Deer, and he lives with his pissant older brother, who's played by Lucas Hedges in one of the most chameleonic performances of the year, and his absent-minded single mom, who's played by Catherine Waterston. And he says, fuck it, I don't want any more of this. I want to go out there and be cool and drink and party. And so how does he do this? He ends up going into the skater shop and befriending the 4 local skater kids, that being Ray, fuck shit, 4th grade, and Ruben. And goddamn, these kids are some of the best kids I've seen all year.
Skating like shit today, man.
Looks cool to me.
I'm moving.
Stevie.
Jonah definitely walked into a skater park one day and just saw all these kids chilling and was like, hey, you want to be an actor? With the sole exception of Gio Galicia, the kid who plays Ruben, because he's definitely the only one that's trying to put on a performance, per se, and it's definitely the one that comes across the weakest. Because his entire arc is, hey, I'm going to be Stevie's really only friend in the group, and then when Stevie kind of starts to oust me as the young kid in the group, I'm just going to become a jealous little pissant. With that being the sole flaw that I found in this movie. Check the script. This movie is one of the most immaculately concepted, amazingly well-crafted films that I've seen of the year. It is so genuine, so raw.
You're just a little fucking kid.
A lot of the time, we feel like our lives are the worst. But I think if you looked in anybody else's closet, you wouldn't trade your shit for their shit.
Again, fuck off Fantastic Film fans who didn't like this movie, because this movie is one of the most genuine movies that I've seen all year and quite possibly of all time. Nah, this movie's great. Like, I saw it in an advanced screening months ago, and that itself was surreal, and I will definitely admit that contributed vastly to this movie being my #1 movie of the year, because just the idea of finally getting to do something that I've been wanting to do for a while now, which is see an advanced screening of a film that I didn't have to pay for, to be treated like an actual critic, in order to see this man's, who has given us one of the most consistent filmographies of the last 2 decades, vision translated onto the big screen in such a potently raw, natural way. I would say the only person that came this close to tapping into what Jonah tapped into with mid-90s this year was Bo Burnham with 8th Grade, but even that movie had a lot of things that kept it differentiated. Yeah, no joke, these kids, man, holy fuck. First off, Sonny Suljic, like, I'm sorry if I shit on you in any way when I shit on Killing of a Sacred Deer last year, because goddamn, you were a fucking revelation in this movie. Stevie, what the fuck are you doing? And Nikel Smith and Owen Prennett, oh my god, I hope those two go on to do so many amazing things afterwards, because those two were goddamn revelations.
That's why we ride a piece of wood, like what that does to somebody's spirit.
Owen Prennett as fuck shit with some of the funniest lines of the year. Also, shout out to Gerard Carmichael. His back and forth between Owen Prennett should automatically be the scene that gets Jonah the lock for original screenplay, even though he won't, because this movie is going to be overlooked by fucking everybody.
Y'all not supposed to be around here. Get the fuck out.
Hey, the little nigga with the Toys R Us badge, come here.
You can't say nigga, I don't think. You fucking Sheryl Crow looking motherfucker.
But yeah, the scene that I come back to with Nikel, though, is when he sits down with Sonny and they're talking back and forth, and he's just like, you know, a lot of people have shit that they have to deal with.
A lot of the time, we feel like our lives are the worst. But I think if you looked in anybody else's closet, you wouldn't trade your shit for their shit.
Yeah, it's probably just better that I played the clip. But yeah, mid-90s, it's fucking awesome. I saw it again about a couple weeks ago, and it's still the absolute best movie of the year. Is it perfect? No, but it's one of the instances where these movies' imperfections are what makes it the experience that it is. So that's it, Q4 review montage. So I guess the next one I'm just gonna have to do is just gonna be like a kind of like final wrap-up / ode to 2018 extravaganza review of the year. I don't even know if I'm gonna do my top 10 list. I'm gonna do my top 10 list. Although I will say this year is kind of shocking in that I actually don't think I have enough contenders this year for worst of the year. So yeah, other than that, you guys know the drill. Make sure to leave a comment, leave a like, leave a dislike. I don't care, just as long as you watch the video. That's all that matters. You know all my social medias. I've said them all more than once need be. I will make sure to get back to you guys at least soon, because December I will be trying to be putting out video after video after video. It's going to be a lot of fun, and yeah, just pay attention because bright things are to come in the future of the movie nerd. Peace out.